Human connection often breaks down at the boundary of articulation. We carry a heavy, complex emotional reality internally, but struggle to communicate it to the specific people in our lives without snapping the tension of the relationship. To address this gap, DunbarrioSolo provides a specific countermeasure, a cast of over 26 illustrated characters, each defined by distinct personality and emotional archetypes. The selection grid shows where the process begins. You assign a proxy for a real person, like Bungo the Hedgehog or Charlie the Pangolin for a parent. This requires intentional matching, selecting an emotional register aligning with the weight you express. Design constraints explicitly prevent these characters from acting as digital friends, conversational companions, or simulated therapists. The Mascot serves as a safe holding environment, a structural container designed to receive the emotional weight of a relationship without real-world fallout or judgment. By writing to the Mascot, the user interacts with a secure proxy whose only job is to process that specific weight. The system avoids simulating human connection. It provides necessary architectural scaffolding so individuals who struggle with direct emotional expression can safely articulate their internal state. Beneath this illustrated surface lies a clinical intervention supported by decades of psychological literature. In 1951, psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott introduced a framework defining the transitional object. In human development, a transitional object acts as a bridge between a person's raw internal reality and their external engagement with the world. Contemporary research confirms this mechanism extends into adulthood. A 2024 study by Coe and colleagues demonstrated that adult attachment to transitional objects significantly predicts superior emotion regulation. This diagram maps Winnicott's theory onto the ops architecture. The Mascot serves as a bridge, connecting raw internal emotion to the external relationship. It absorbs the emotional intensity intended for your real-world contact. Because the Mascot cannot judge, the immediate fear of expression is removed. Unlike shouting into the void of a generic journal, this directed writing practice is tethered to a specific proxy that preserves the exact relational contact of the feeling. In this framework, the Mascot functions as the digital transitional object. It links the user's isolated emotional life to the external act of relational engagement. The primary mechanism for this connection is an intervention called the Embrace. An embrace is a directed journal entry built on James Pennebaker's expressive writing paradigm, a protocol proven across hundreds of studies to improve emotional regulation. Before any text is transmitted to the proxy, the system requires the user to systematically quantify their exact emotional state. This interface features an 8-segment rotary mood dial, forcing the conscious selection of a precise emotion. Next, the user defines intensity by pushing the Energizer slider. Pushing past 88% effort activates the peak white mechanic, transforming the baseline emotion into pure white signal. This interface is tied to 3 decades of affective science, linking precise emotion differentiation to lower psychological distress. The system trains emotional granularity by forcing users to translate an abstract feeling into precise 2-dimensional coordinate data. Once the data is logged, the user engages with the Mascot interface, which defaults to a resting state featuring 16 looping, non-interactive idle animations. Beneath the character, a dynamic subtitle system cycles through pre-written emotional state strings every 3 to 5 minutes. This subtle cycling creates a baseline sense of presence. The character feels observant, but it generates no direct conversational output. When an embrace is submitted, the system reacts mechanically. The app executes a continuity signal, locking the subtitle onto a detected sentiment string for exactly 15 minutes, proving the entry was received. This state persists across sessions. Even if the user restarts the application, the Mascot remains locked in that specific reflective state. This localized UI persistence provides psychological proof of receipt. It confirms the relational weight is being held without requiring the system to formulate a chat-based reply. The system does offer one active feedback mechanism, an opt-in AI response. This diagram tracks the private data's physical journey. During the generation phase, an ephemeral edge function securely passes text to the AI, generating a short response. Then comes destruction. The text exists in memory solely for seconds before an immediate, complete wipe. The architecture enforces strict boundaries to protect data in transit. API keys never touch the local device. All AI communication routes strictly through secure server-to-server HTTPS connections. Because of this, private journal entries are never stored by the AI provider, nor are they used to train foundational AI models. This stateless architecture ensures the AI has zero memory of prior entries or past interactions with the user. Radical privacy is achieved through physical transients. Because the text exists only for seconds, the system is mathematically incapable of forming a continuous memory of the user. This design rejects a consumer tech landscape saturated with AI companions, engineered to simulate unconditional human validation. In 2025, the APA issued a health advisory warning of the risks associated with maladaptive parasocial dependence on these types of generative models. An infinite, memory-retaining conversational loop creates an illusion of therapy. Over time, that reliance actively degrades a user's ability to navigate the friction of real-world relationships. DunbarrioSolo utilizes functional friction to deliberately break this loop. The character-locked voice prompts operate under severe constraints. Responses are hard-capped at 3 sentences maximum. The mascot is explicitly programmed to receive the emotional weight, but it will never offer advice, provide a diagnosis, or attempt problem-solving. It is also governed by an anti-sycophancy design. Character voices are constrained to prevent generic positivity or flattery. By stripping away persistent memory and open-ended dialogue, the system forces the user to sit with their own reflection, rather than depend on a machine. Efficacious digital mental health tools require deliberately designing against empathy. These constraints prevent the tool from becoming a substitute for human connection. The isolated act of writing to a mascot is only phase 1 of the platform's macroarchitecture. The left side of this schema shows how data generated from an embrace, mood coordinates, energy percentages, and text flags, is captured. This metadata feeds into a central AI synthesis engine, which compiles it weekly into a private narrative portrait that reveals the user's relational blind spots over time. Simultaneously, a ledger tracks manual, out-of-app connection events, like phone calls and visits, to monitor behavioral shifts in the real world. This leads to Winnicott's final developmental milestone, Decathexis. This is the point where the transitional object is successfully outgrown. The system measures its own success by looking for a decrease in mascot-directed writing paired with a corresponding increase in real-world contact logging. This progression triggers a graduation mechanic, where the user transitions out of private solo practice and into shared communal governance. The entire platform aligns across 3 scientific axes: Pennebaker's expressive writing, Plečik's emotional granularity, and Winnicott's transitional objects. The digital transitional object succeeds when it makes itself obsolete. It safely holds your relational weight until you are strong enough to carry it back to the people who matter.